welcome. And in today's episode of Reading Sloth, I will be doing the mid-year book freakout tag, which is a very popular tag here on BookTube, where we go through the first half of the year and evaluate our reading choices. There are many questions, and so I'm just gonna get right into it. So the first question is, what is your best book of the year so far? And when I say so far, I will only be going up to the end of June, so any books I've read so far in July I won't be counting. But I'm gonna have to go with A Day of Fallen Night by Samantha Shannon. This is the prequel to A Priory of the Orange Tree. It is huge, and even though it's huge, I loved it. I just sort of spent my time in the world and I got immersed in the characters and I really enjoyed it. It's just, the world is really rich and it's got a lot of history to it, and you can sort of feel that, and you can see the threads of this story through The Priory of the Orange Tree, and I really liked that about this. Also, it's just a stunning book. Up next is Best Sequel. I've got two answers for this. One of them is The Blood Traitor, which is the third book in the Prison Healer trilogy. And that was an excellent ending to a trilogy. It had loads of twists and turns and it held me captivated. And I think I must have read it in maybe 1 or 2 sittings. I just could not put it down. I had to see what was happening next. Excellent trilogy. First book, it was good, but it didn't have me. The second book, it got me. And the third book just blew me away. And the second answer I have for this is The Atlas Paradox, which is very different to the previous answer, where The Blood Traitor is very much fast-paced. It has lots of different twists and turns and lots of moments that sort of leave you gripped and wanting to see what are going to be the outcomes, what's going to happen next. This book is very much a slower, more character-driven book. It focuses a lot on internal monologues, and it's more of like a battle with the minds than like a physical battle. It does have some physicality to the war going on between the different sides, but a lot of it is between the different characters and sort of, are they going to help each other or are they gonna continue to be sort of against one another? I find that really interesting. The characters are great and I cannot wait to see what happens in the third one, because this book sort of took it in a lot of weird places, which is going to make the last one in the trilogy really interesting to get to. The next question is favorite reread. Now, I've only read 2 books that are rereads, so there wasn't much competition, but when it's Hitchhiker's Guide, does there need to be a competition? I actually didn't read this physical copy, but I read the first Hitchhiker's book and I listened to it on audio, and it was really good. I think it sort of adds something extra to sort of listen to it on audio. So I read this once and my reread is going to be just the audiobooks, I think, because I think that's gonna translate the humor a little better for me. Next is a genre that I have been loving, and I love fantasy, and occasionally I love a good romance book, but this year I have really gotten into the historical fiction, especially this series. Here you've got Excellent Portrait, Henry VIII, and you can see him just in the background here, and this is the Three Queens. So you got Catherine, his sisters Mary and Margaret, key players in the whole sort of history of the Tudors. This 16 book series is really interesting, because each book is told from a different woman's point of view, sort of in the history, and you get to see both sides of the story, and you can see the different women and how they are differently strong, which is great. And it's just really fascinating, because even though it's not like 100% historically accurate, you can go onto the Wikipedia and onto Google and search more of these people's lives and see the actual sort of historical things that these are based on, and it's gotten me really interested into learning more, and it's got a good base knowledge. Like, all the characters are from the actual families. So from this, I have learned that Catherine Howard is actually related to Anne Boleyn, which I didn't previously know. I mean, I'm guessing some history nerds would know. But see, that is really interesting to me, at least. And then next is new release that I still haven't got to yet. I actually haven't got the cover on for this one. This is Fourth Wing. Everyone has been talking about this book, and I have just not got to it yet. It is literally the next book I am reading. It's got my little bookmark in it ready. I am so excited. Even my friends in real life have started to pick it up, and they have loved it, and so I cannot wait. I think it's going to be excellent, and I'm hoping for a good week where I can just get into it. Next up is most anticipated release for the second half of the year, and for me that is going to be Silverborn, which is the fourth book in the Nevermore Trials of Morrigan Crow series. It's been a while since we had book 3, and I am pumped. This is one of my favourite middle grade series. It's very whimsical, it's got a talking cat in it, it's got a magical school setting, and I love it, and I cannot wait to just grab the book and read it non-stop. And the next question is, what is the biggest disappointment of the year? And I don't think I've mentioned this. It's Gardens of the Moon. This book is a huge book in the sort of history of fantasy. It's like a staple of the fantasy genre. People who read fantasy read Gardens of the Moon, which is the first book in the Malazan series. I read the whole thing, and only when watching a video done by someone else did I realise I did not retain any information. I missed huge events. I was like, what? That happened? I missed that. So I think I need to go back. I'm gonna give it a second read, but I'm going to give it a second read after I have finished the Wheel of Time series. I have realised I only have enough space in my life at the moment for one ginormous series. So I'm going to read Wheel of Time, and then I'm going to come back to this, and I'm going to do the whole thing with the Wikipedia articles and taking notes and all that jazz to see if I can really get into it. I'm going to take my time, and I'm going to try a second time. On a plus note, next question is, what is your biggest surprise of the year? And that is Alloy of Law by Brandon Sanderson. Now you might be thinking, Brandon Sanderson, but isn't he an author that everyone loves? And everyone raves about him all the time? Yes. However, this is the first book in the Mistborn Era 2. And whilst Mistborn Era 2 overall has a somewhat positive general view, a lot of people don't like this first book in Era 2. It's very different to his other works, and it's shorter, two, it's like a western setting with guns and sort of that vibe, and three, people say they don't like Sanderson's humour in this very much. And so going into this, I've known people who'd given it 3 stars, didn't like it, and only continued with the series because of all the cosmic connections. And so when I read it and I loved it, I mean, gave it like 5 stars, loved it, I was really surprised. I actually enjoy the humour, and the setting was really good, and the pacing and the mystery. It just sort of worked for me, and I cannot wait to read the next books, but I need to read 2 books in the Stormlight Archive series first before I can get back to this series. So it might take a while because the Stormlight books are the polar opposite. They are like 1,000 pages. But I am hoping to get to the second one at least this year. Moving on, what is my fave new author? Now this is difficult, because I don't know how to define a favourite author, really. A potential candidate would be Juno Dawson, who wrote Her Majesty's Royal Coven and the sequel, The Shadow Cabinet, which both were amazing. Read the second book this year. Completely astounded me. It was great. But she does have other works that I would like to read first to see if she's a favourite author. So I'm still on the fence about that one. Up next is new favourite character. Now I don't have one, because I read a book and a lot of the information just sort of flies straight out of my head. I'm gonna blame the ADHD for that one. I cannot keep people... It's like all the information's there. If someone says a character and then something they did, I'm like, oh, okay, I remember everything about that now. But it's just like behind a wall. So I don't really have a fave new character, so I will be going on to the next prompt, which is book that made you cry. I am not a crier at books, and not really at movies, sometimes at movies, but not much at books. One that would sort of qualify for closest to making me cry is the Sad Ghost Club, just because it was so relatable, and I felt seen, and so that made me emotional. But no physical tears. On the flip side, book that made me happy, and this is quite a large book. This is the Good Omens TV companion. I own a lot of the Good Omens sort of side things now. I've got the TV companion, and I've got the script book. Script book came out a while ago, and I've only just got this TV companion on this Christmas. But this goes through all like the characters from the show, sort of character backgrounds. It goes into the behind the scenes for filming, and it's just got like a lot of information about the show, and the show has a special place in my heart, and I can't wait for the new series. I might watch the first series again as a little refresher, but because I love it so much. And so this book, just reading it, brought back a lot of memories. I love these two so much. It's just the perfect series, and this book just made me happy reading it. I'd sit down and I'm like, you know what, this makes me want to watch Good Omens, read Good Omens all over again, and I'm gonna have to. Now, the next up is Most Beautiful Book, and I think we can all agree that Day of Fallen Night is a good contender for that. I do have a couple of other books that are quite nice that I have picked up this year, but I think the dragon cover is the most spectacular. And then, yeah, the last couple of questions, you got, what do I need to read by the end of the year? And as always, the answer to that is, what book don't I have to read by the end of the year? I mean, if I have to narrow it down, it's gonna have to be the books I haven't read yet on my 23 to read in 2023. I've only read about 9, so I'm a bit behind. And I kind of oversubscribed to starting series on that list. So some might have to get bumped to next year. As I sort of want to stop opening series and start finishing. I say start finishing, I've finished quite a few. But fourth thing I need to read more Wheel of Time, and I need to read more of the Tudor series. I am getting closer to the end of that. I'm very excited. And then the last question is, what is the most favoritist video that I have done this year? And I don't have one. I am just happy that I have videos that I have frequently put out, and I need to get back to some things that I said I was going to do. I need to continue with the House of the Dragon episode recaps, because I only did one. And then I got waylaid. And then I need to actually put some books on my book to movie adaptation board. And the only thing delaying me in that is getting a printer, because printers are expensive. And then I'll be all good to go. So yeah, hopefully that gives you a good indication of all the things I've been reading. I might do a stats video breaking down like percentage of books for genres, male, female authors, that type of thing. Let me know if you want that, and let me know if you loved any of the books I mentioned, and I hope to see you in the next one.